The program became known as the Art of Living course, and now it's in, as I mentioned, 135 countries. It's been taught to over 3 million people around the world. It's comprised of knowledge points. The knowledge points are to promote an understanding of how to live a healthy, stress-free life. And then there are a lot of group processes in the program, and these are designed to give you some connection to others and to life at the very deepest level. It's a very effective program. The cornerstone of the course is the breathing practices. There's an energetic breathing practice that brings a lot of energy into the body. There's a rhythmical breathing process that has great power and effectiveness at eliminating or offloading this chronic stress that's present in our body and all those levels of existence. Now, this technique leads to you re-experiencing at an emotional level some of the things that brought the stress about. You don't get the memories, you just have an emotional release. But it's done in a very gentle, a very safe, and a way that has very little trauma associated with it, and it's incredibly effective. The course is taught over 4 to 6 days for a total of about 16 to 20, 22 hours at a time. Almost everyone that does the course has a profound change. Doesn't matter how old they are, what religion they're from, their educational background is not important. Afterwards, we teach a home program. The home program takes about 20 minutes a day. And after that, if you have more time, you can do some yoga, you can do some meditation, go for a jog, walk on the beach, walk in the desert, whatever you'd like to do. I want to mention talk just a moment about energy. Energy is so important because when we have a high energy state, we feel so good, and when we have a low energy state, that's when we get anxious and depressed. So energy is really important. I'm not talking about necessarily those things we get from sweets, but this energy that we all know that we can feel when we walk in the redwoods, we step for the ocean, that energy that we can feel in our body, that's what the energy that I'm talking about. We get some of that from food. Too much food, you feel loggy. Sleep is very important. What about not sleeping for 2 days? How do you feel? Pretty bad, huh? Anybody that's around you is in big trouble if you don't sleep for 2 days. How about a calm, meditative state of mind? Our nervous system burns up about 80% of our energy unless we have a really hard physical job. So if we have a calm, meditative state of mind, so much more energy is available to get us through our day. And then, of course, there's the breath. In the course, we teach you to use the breath to bring energy into your body. So a high energy state, energetic, joyful, clear-minded, focused. A low energy state, depression, anxiety, fatigue, confusion, and eventually disease. Now, in 1992, we started doing research into the art of living. For the first 10 years, we just taught the course. We didn't do any research. People would come to us and say, oh, this got better, I'm feeling so much better. All those things that the high energy state noticed, your high energy, that's what people told us about. We eventually taught some doctors. Now, doctors respond very well to the course, but when they feel good, they don't believe they feel good unless they can prove it. So a bunch of doctors did the course. They eventually decided to do some research. The first research they did was surveys. I call these semi-scientific surveys. They sent out questionnaires before and after the course, before and 6 months after, before and a year after. And everybody that answered the questionnaire pretty much gave the same answers. They said that they felt more clear-headed, more alert. In 1996, we started doing studies into depression and anxiety, and in the last 3 years, we've done a lot of studies in the basic sciences, looking at why this works. We're pretty clear that it works very well. The real question that we wanted to answer was, how does it work? Now, the surveys that we did, people told us they had an increased sense of well-being, they had increased energy, they slept better. Anybody here have trouble sleeping? You know, it's so important to get good sleep. They were clearer thinking, anxiety and depression got better, and there were improvement in multiple disease states. People kept saying my asthma got better, my arthritis got better. No, we weren't sure what to do with that information. We just took note. The first studies that were done as I mentioned, were depression studies. And in 1996, we did the first really good scientifically based depression study. It was done in India, in Bangalore, where there's a world famous institute that deals with mental health. Dr. Janaki Maya, one of the foremost researchers into depression, got very interested in our program. Mostly he kept hearing about it and he didn't think it would work. So he decided that he would test it out. So the first thing they did is they looked at people with relatively mild depression. And they didn't just look at questionnaires. They looked at things like the EEG pattern, which is abnormal when you're depressed. And they looked at different sleep stages. And they found on the first study, not only did the depression go away, but the EEG became normal and the sleep became normal. And it all happened in about 3 or 4 weeks. So a year later, he did another study with some help, with some very good researchers working with him. They looked at dysthymia, which is mild, and then they looked at melancholy patients. And they found in about a 6-week study that most people got a remarkable improvement in either mild or severe depression. The EEG got better, and they followed these people up for 3 months, and they all stayed healthy. In 98, he did 3 more studies, basically all the same studies, same thing. This time he looked at prolactin and cortisol. Prolactin is a hormone that goes down in depression. It comes up when the depression goes away. It's been known for many years. We looked at the prolactin levels, and by 4 weeks they were up at the normal level. And the last study he did was in the year 2000. This is one of the better studies that's been done in depression. It was a randomized controlled study in patients. These people were all in the hospital. Been done in depression. It was a randomized controlled study in patients. These people were all in the hospital for 4 weeks. A third of them got electroshock therapy. They were so depressed. Now all these people were about the same as far as their level of depression. But about a third of them had a drug called imipramine. They took so much imipramine that, at least in my practice, about half the people I give that drug to at this level get sick and stop the drug. And then a third of the people did the Art of Living course. And what they found at the end of the study period is that all of the patients got better, and about the same number. There wasn't statistically much of a difference between any of the groups. The electroshock therapy on paper got a little bit better. But no one wants to think of electroshock therapy as the first treatment for depression, do they? Oh, I think I'm depressed, I'm going to go have electroshock therapy. I don't think so. So his conclusion was this should be considered for the first line of therapy. There are very few side effects, and no side effects, really. The only contraindications are pregnancy, and seizure disorder, and bipolar disorder. Now this brings us up to doing the physiological studies. Most recently, a number of physiological studies have been done from different medical centers around the world. One of the more interesting ones, we're looking at brainwave patterns, EEG changes. One recent study that was done in New Delhi at one of the larger medical centers there took 15 controls who've never done any of these kind of practices and took 19 Art of Living teachers. Now these teachers had all been doing the daily practice every day for about 3 years. And they compared the EEG results with them resting. And none of them were on any medications, none had diseases. And what they found was the teachers had a lot more beta activity in various areas of the brain. Now beta activity is basically heightened awareness. When your brain is having a heightened awareness, it has a lot of beta activity. It's pretty interesting. The control groups were all doctors and researchers. They should have a lot of beta activity, shouldn't they? That's the kind of job they're doing. But the Art of Living teachers had much more beta activity than the researchers did. And a demonstration on this slide, I think is quite clear. On the right side, you see the teachers. On the left side are the control group. And the red is all of the beta activity. And you can see how much more beta activity is seen. So this, again, this is heightened awareness. They then took Art of Living teachers, took 5 of them, and they had them do the Art of Living rhythmical breathing practice. And they looked at them at the different stages of the rhythmical breathing, just out of curiosity to see what would happen. And as they went through these stages, they found a lot of alpha waves. Now, alpha waves are those waves in your brain when you're really relaxed. You know, you're in bed and you're about to go to sleep. You're drifting. You feel so good. You feel so wonderful. Your brain's just flooded with alpha waves right there. Now, they found these teachers, their brains were just flooded with alpha waves. At the exact same time, other areas of the brain were having beta waves, right? So they're not only relaxed, but they have heightened alertness. Relaxed, heightened alertness at the same time. A pretty wonderful combination. They also found the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain begin to have the same types of waves. The back and the front of the brain, the inside of the brain, and the outside of the brain.